Blood everywhere. A 6-year-old boy knelt in a parking lot screaming until his voice shattered into nothing. "Grandpa, wake up, please, wake up." His tiny hands pressed against his grandfather's skull, trying to stop the bleeding. Red seeped through his fingers, warm, thick, too much. The old man's veteran cap floated in a puddle 3 feet away. His walking cane lay snapped in half. A black truck tore out of the lot. 4 young men hung from the windows laughing, filming, screaming back at the broken child. "Stay down, Fossil, that's where you belong." The boys' screams followed them into the distance. "Somebody help me, they're killing my grandpa." Nobody came. Nobody moved. A 74-year-old war hero lay dying in his grandson's arms. And somewhere across town, 43 engines were about to roar to life. Before we continue this incredible story, drop a comment telling us where you are watching from. We want to see how far this story travels around the world. And please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. It helps us bring you more powerful stories every single day. Now let's go back to the beginning. Harold Brennan's eyes snapped open at 5:47 a.m. Same time as yesterday. Same time as every day for 52 years. His body didn't need an alarm clock. Korea had trained that out of him. 3 years in a foxhole will do that to a man. He sat up. His left knee screamed. Shrapnel, 1953. The doctor said they got most of it out. They lied. Harold listened. Silence. Margaret's side of the bed was empty. Cold. 3 years now. Cancer took her fast. Didn't even give him time to say goodbye proper. He still slept on his side. Still kept her reading glasses on the nightstand. Couldn't bring himself to move them. Then he heard it. Breathing. Small. Quiet. Right outside his door. Harold smiled for the first time in days. He opened the door. Tommy, 6 years old, curled up on the hallway floor like a puppy, wrapped in a blanket that was too big for him, clutching a stuffed bear that had been washed so many times its eyes were coming loose. "Hey, soldier." Harold's voice came out softer than he expected. "What are you doing out here?" Tommy's eyes fluttered open. "Had to make sure you didn't leave without me, Grandpa." Harold's chest tightened. This boy, this precious boy who had never met his father, whose mother worked herself half to death just to keep the lights on. "I would never leave without you." Harold knelt down, his knee popped loud. "Today's Saturday. You know what that means." Tommy shot up like a rocket. "Feed store day." "That's right, and what else?" "Treehouse supplies." Tommy grabbed Harold's hand with both of his. "You promised, Grandpa, you said this weekend we'd get the wood. A man keeps his word." "And a rope ladder. And a rope ladder. And a secret compartment for my treasures." Harold laughed. "What treasures? You're 6. "I don't have any yet, but I will when I'm an explorer like you." Harold's smile faded just a little. Explorer. That's what Tommy called it. Not soldier, not killer. Explorer. The boy didn't need to know what Harold had really done in Korea, what he'd seen, what still woke him up at 3 a.m. with his hands reaching for a rifle that wasn't there. "Go get dressed, soldier. We move out in 30. Tommy sprinted down the hall. His feet thundered on the wooden floor. Harold watched him go. Margaret, he thought. You were right. I did need someone to take care of. Ellen was already in the kitchen. She looked terrible. Dark circles, pale skin, hospital scrubs wrinkled like she'd slept in them, coffee cups shaking in her hands. "Dad," her voice cracked, "you don't have to take him today. I can call in." "No. But my knee's been bad since Truman was president. I'll manage." "Dad." "Ellen," Harold's voice hardened. "You've called in twice this month. They're looking for reasons. Don't give them one." Ellen set down the coffee. She walked over and hugged him. Quick, tight, almost desperate. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "You'd do fine." "No, I wouldn't." Harold patted her back. He'd never been good at this. Emotions, feelings. The Corps trained that out of you, but for Ellen, he tried. Tommy came flying down the stairs. He was wearing jeans and an oversized t-shirt. It had belonged to his father. Michael, dead before Tommy was born. IED in Afghanistan. Ellen had wanted to throw the shirt away. Tommy threw a tantrum so bad the neighbors called. He wore it every Saturday now. Ready, Grandpa? Harold grabbed his keys, his wallet, his cap. The cap, 7th Infantry Division, faded green, edges frayed. He'd bought it at a veterans reunion in 1985. Wore it every single day since. It was just cloth, just thread. But it meant everything. Let's move out, soldier. Tommy saluted. All wrong, elbow too high, hand crooked. Harold's eyes stung anyway. Sir, yes, sir. The drive took 45 minutes. Winding mountain roads. The old Chevy groaned on the inclines. Engine coughed. Transmission whined, but it didn't quit, like its owner. Tommy talked the whole way. And the treehouse needs a lookout tower, Grandpa, so I can see bad guys coming. And a trap door. And a flag. Can we get a flag? What kind of flag? American, like yours. Harold glanced at his grandson. Why American? Because you fought for it. That's what Mom said. You fought so the flag could keep flying. Harold's hands tightened on the wheel. Your mom's a smart woman. She cries sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep. Harold said nothing. I pretend I don't hear, Tommy continued, because I don't want her to feel bad. Is that okay, Grandpa, to pretend? Sometimes pretending is the bravest thing you can do. Tommy nodded seriously, like he understood. Maybe he did. This kid had seen more in 6 years than most people see in 60. Grandpa, yeah, when I grow up, I want to be exactly like you. Harold couldn't speak for a long moment. You'll be better, he finally said. Much better. The Riverside Feed and Hardware parking lot was already crowded. Saturday morning. Farmers loading supplies. Ranchers comparing notes. Old-timers on the bench outside solving the world's problems over burnt coffee. Harold parked in the back. More walking, but his knee needed it. Sitting too long made the shrapnel grind against bone. Stay close, Harold said as they crossed the lot. No running off. Yes, Grandpa. They made it about 20 feet. Then the truck arrived. Black, lifted 6 inches. Chrome everywhere. Engine roaring so loud it set off a car alarm 3 rows over. Music blasting something angry, all bass and screaming. It swung into a handicap spot, took up 2 spaces, 4 doors open, 4 young men climbed out. Harold knew the type instantly. 20-something, designer clothes, expensive haircuts, walking like they owned everything and everyone. The leader was the worst, tall, broad, sunglasses even though clouds covered the sun. Smirk that said he'd never heard the word no in his life. Tommy tugged Harold's sleeve. Grandpa, why are they so loud? Some people need everyone to look at them. That's dumb. Yes, it is. Harold steered Tommy toward the entrance. Come on, let's get our lumber. They were almost inside when the leader called out, Hey, old man. Harold stopped. Don't engage. Walk away. Not worth it. He kept walking. I'm talking to you, fossil. Harold pushed through the door. Inside the feed store smelled like sawdust and fertilizer. Harold found it comforting. Reminded him of his father's workshop. Before the war. Before everything went to hell. Grandpa, can I look at the birdhouses? 5 minutes, then lumber. Tommy ran off toward the display window. Harold walked slowly to the lumber section. His knee was grinding bad today. Rain coming probably. He was examining 2x4s when he heard them. I'm telling you, bro, my dad's got the sheriff in his pocket. Nothing's gonna happen. You literally ran that guy off the road. So teach these old fossils to stay home. Laughter. Harold looked up. The 4 of them had entered the store, walking through aisles like they owned the place, knocking items off shelves, laughing when employees scrambled to clean up. The leader stopped right next to Harold, sunglasses still on, indoors, like a movie villain with no self-awareness. You work here, Grandpa? No. Then why'd you ignore me outside? I didn't hear you. Bull. The leader stepped closer. I think you heard me just fine. I think you just don't respect me. One of his friends snickered. Blake, chill. He's like 100. Blake. Harold filed the name away. I don't know you, Harold said calmly. I've got no reason to disrespect you. Yeah. Blake pulled off his sunglasses. His eyes were bloodshot, pupils huge. Harold had seen that look before. In soldiers who'd snapped. In POWs who'd been broken. You know who my father is? No. You will. Blake held Harold's stare for a long moment. Then he smiled. Cold, empty. See you outside, old man? They walked away. Harold's hands were shaking, not from fear, from anger. Pure, white-hot Korean foxhole anger. He pushed it down. Anger was a luxury, one he couldn't afford anymore. He grabbed the lumber and went to find Tommy. No. Grandpa, look! Tommy was bouncing in front of the birdhouse display. This one has a little porch and a chimney. Harold forced a smile. That's real nice. But we're building our own. Remember, ours will be better. Much better. Promise, promise. They checked out. The clerk Ruth worked there 30 years, smiled at Tommy like he'd made her whole day. What are you building, sweetheart? A tree house with a rope ladder and a secret compartment. That sounds wonderful. They loaded the lumber into a cart and headed outside. The sun had broken through. Beautiful day. Harold should have known it wouldn't last. By the time they were at the truck, Harold was lifting lumber into the bed. His knees screamed, his ribs ached. 74 years old, body falling apart piece by piece. But Tommy was watching. So Harold didn't show pain. Never show pain, never show weakness. That's what the Corps taught. The black truck pulled up behind them. Harold's stomach dropped. Blake stepped out first, then his three friends. They fanned out, blocked the exit. Hey, Grandpa, miss me. Harold set down the lumber. Son, we don't want any trouble. Maybe I do. Then I'm asking you man to walk away. My grandson is right here. Blake's eyes flicked to Tommy. Something ugly crossed his face. Good. Let him watch. Harold stepped in front of Tommy. Whatever problem you think we have, it's with me, not him. Yeah, it is with you. Blake moved closer. You embarrassed me in there, in front of my boys. That doesn't happen. I didn't. Shut up. Blake's face twisted. You don't talk. You don't get to talk. You're nothing, a nobody. A fossil that should have died decades ago. One of his friends, shorter, nervous-looking, stepped forward. Blake, people are watching. Maybe we should... Kyle, shut your mouth. Kyle flinched back. Blake turned back to Harold. You know what your problem is, old man. You think because you wore a uniform you deserve respect. You think you're special. But you're not. You're just an old piece of garbage taking up space. Harold's jaw tightened. I'm not going to fight you. Good. That'll make this easier. Blake shoved Harold in the chest, hard. Harold stumbled but didn't fall. 50 years of training, his legs found balance automatically. Tommy screamed, Grandpa. Get in the truck, Tommy, Ba. Harold's voice was steady. Lock the doors. But now, Tommy ran, climbed in, locked the doors, his face pressed against the window, tears already streaming. Blake laughed. He's gonna cry. That's so cute. Walk away, Harold said quietly. Last chance. Or what? You'll bore me to death with war stories. Blake shoved him again. This time Harold caught his wrist, twisted, used Blake's momentum against him. Blake went down hard. The asphalt scraped his palms bloody. Silence. Then Blake screamed, Get him now. All three rushed at once. Harold took the first one out with an elbow strike. Throat. The kid dropped gasping. The second caught a knee to the stomach. Doubled over. Vomited. But the third huge kid, arms like tree trunks, tackled Harold from behind. Harold went down. His knee hit first. The shrapnel exploded. Pain whited out his vision. Someone kicked his ribs. Once, twice, 3 times, someone stomped on his hand. Bones crunched, and through it all he heard Tommy, screaming, pounding on the truck window. Stop it, don't hurt my grandpa. Harold tried to get up. A boot caught him in the jaw. Blood filled his mouth. Blake stood over him, breathing hard, eyes wild. Not so tough now, huh? Not so tough without your uniform. Harold looked up at him. Even now, broken bleeding beat in his eyes didn't waver. 4 on 1, Harold spat blood. And you still needed help, coward. Blake's face went purple. He drew back his foot, kicked Harold in the head. Everything went black. Tommy couldn't breathe. His grandpa wasn't moving. Blood was everywhere, on the ground, on Grandpa's face, on Grandpa's hands. The men were laughing, high-fiving, like they'd won a game. "That's what happens," Blake screamed. "That's what happens when you disrespect me." He spit on Harold's body. Then they climbed back in their truck. "Stay down where you belong, fossil." Tires screeched. The truck tore out of the parking lot. Gone. Tommy's hands were shaking so bad he could barely grip the door handle. Grandpa told him to stay in the truck. Grandpa gave him an order. But Grandpa was dying. Tommy unlocked the door. He jumped out. He ran to his grandfather. "Grandpa, Grandpa." He grabbed Harold's shirt, shook him. "Wake up. Please wake up." Blood soaked into Tommy's hands. Warm, sticky. He'd never seen this much blood. "You promised." Tommy was sobbing so hard he couldn't breathe. "You promised we'd build the tree house. You promised you wouldn't leave. A man keeps his word. That's what you said." Harold didn't move, didn't breathe. Tommy screamed. He ran toward the store, toward the people, toward anyone. The door slammed open. "Please, somebody help. They're killing my grandpa." Everything happened fast after that. Ruth called 911. 3 men ran to the parking lot. A woman nurse off duty started CPR. Someone else held Tommy back. He fought, kicked, screamed, "Let me go! I have to help him! Let me go!" "Sweetheart, the paramedics are coming. They'll help him." "He's dying! He's dying!" Sirens. The ambulance arrived in 6 minutes. Paramedics rushed out, worked on Harold, shouted things Tommy didn't understand. "Pulse is thready. Possible skull fracture. Get him on the stretcher now." They loaded Harold into the ambulance. Tommy fought to climb in with him. "That's my grandpa. I have to go with him." The paramedic young woman kind eyes hesitated. "Please," Tommy begged. "He's all I have. Please don't take him away from me." Something in her face broke. "Okay, sweetheart. Okay, come on." Tommy climbed in. He grabbed Harold's hand. It was cold, limp. "Grandpa, I'm here. I'm right here. Please don't die. Please." The doors slammed shut, sirens screamed, and Tommy prayed to every god he'd ever heard of. Pinewood Valley Community Hospital. They rushed Harold into the ER. Tommy tried to follow. A nurse stopped him. "Sweetheart, you can't go back there. That's my grandpa." "I know, baby, I know, but the doctors need room to work. You'll see him soon." "You promise?" The nurse's eyes were wet. "I promise, William." Tommy sat in the waiting room, alone. His hands were still covered in blood. Harold's blood. He stared at them. Grandpa's blood. A nurse brought him a warm towel, helped him clean up, brought him juice, a sandwich. He didn't touch either. Minutes passed, hours, an eternity. Then Ellen burst through the doors. "Tommy!" She ran to him, scooped him up, held him so tight he couldn't breathe. "Oh God, baby. Oh God. Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "Grandpa," Tommy whispered. "They hurt Grandpa." "I know, baby, I know." "Is he dead?" Ellen's voice broke. "I don't know." They waited, together. The doctor came out 2 hours later. Dr. Chen, small woman, silver hair, eyes that had seen everything. "Mrs. Brennan," Ellen stood up. Tommy grabbed her hand. "Your father is stable." Ellen's knees buckled. She caught herself on a chair. "He has 2 cracked ribs, severe contusions, a laceration above his right eyebrow that required 12 stitches. His left knee sustained significant trauma. The existing shrapnel fragments have shifted. But he's alive. He's alive, and he's asking for his grandson." Tommy was already running. Harold looked terrible. Face swollen, bruised purple and black, stitches running above his eyebrow like a railroad track, left hand wrapped in bandages, but his eyes were open. "Grandpa!" Tommy threw himself onto the bed. Harold winced ribs, but he didn't push Tommy away. He wrapped his good arm around the boy and held on. "I'm okay, soldier. I'm right here." "I thought you were dead," Tommy was crying again. "There was so much blood, they kept kicking you and you wouldn't get up, and I tried to help, but I couldn't." Hey. Harold tilted Tommy's chin up. "Look at me, are you looking?" Tommy nodded. "You saved my life." "What?" "You ran for help when I couldn't. You did that. Because of you, I'm alive." Tommy's lip trembled. Really, really, you were the bravest person in that parking lot. But I was so scared. That's what brave means, being scared and doing the right thing anyway. Tommy buried his face in Harold's chest. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, soldier, more than you'll ever know. Ellen stood in the doorway, tears running down her face. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. Harold met her eyes over Tommy's head, nodded slightly. I'm okay. She nodded back. Thank God. Then her face hardened. Who did this? Harold hesitated. Who did this? His name's Blake, that's all I know. I'll find out more. Ellen, I'll find out more. She turned and walked out. Harold knew that look. He'd seen it in soldiers before they went over the top, before they did something they couldn't take back. Tommy, Harold said quietly, I need you to do something for me. Anything, Grandpa. If your mom starts asking questions about what happened, don't answer. Why? Because some things it's better to let go. Tommy pulled back. His eyes were red, swollen, but something fierce burned in them. But they hurt you. I know. They should be punished. Maybe, but not by your mother. And not by you. That's not how we do things. Then how, Grandpa? How do we do things? Harold didn't have an answer. For the first time in his life, Harold Brennan didn't have an answer. The police came an hour later. 2 officers, one young, one old. The old one did the talking. Mr. Brennan, can you describe your attackers? Harold described them, 4 men, mid-20s, black-lifted truck, leader named Blake. The old officer's face changed, just a flicker, but Harold caught it. Blake, the officer repeated. Last name, didn't get one. The 2 cops looked at each other. Harold's gut tightened. What? Nothing, Mr. Brennan. We'll look into it. Don't lie to me, son. I've been lied to by professionals. You're not even close. The old officer shifted. Mr. Brennan, his father's somebody, isn't he? Somebody important. Silence. Well, might he? The old officer sighed. Blake Thornton. His father is Mayor Vincent Thornton. The room went cold. The mayor, Harold repeated. Yes, sir. So nothing's going to happen to him. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The old officer looked genuinely pained. Mr. Brennan, I'm sorry, I really am. But these cases, they're complicated. There's nothing complicated about it. 4 men attacked a 74-year-old veteran in front of his 6-year-old grandson. That's not complicated, that's criminal. I understand. Do you, Harold's voice rose, do you understand what it's like to lie on the ground while your grandson screams your name? Do you understand what it's like to see the fear in his eyes and know you can't protect him? The officer said nothing. Get out. Mr. Brennan, get out. They left. Tommy was silent for a long moment. Then, Grandpa, why were the policemen scared? Harold closed his eyes. Because some people are so powerful that even the police are afraid of them. That's not fair. Nobody, it's not. Tommy's small hand found Harold's. I hate them, Grandpa. I hate them so much. Harold opened his eyes. Don't. But hate, it is like poison. It only hurts the person carrying it. They hurt me. But if you hate them, they'll keep hurting you. Every day. Even when they're not around. So what do we do? Harold stared at the ceiling. I don't know, soldier. I don't know. That night, Harold couldn't sleep. The hospital was quiet. Machines beeped. Footsteps echoed. Tommy was curled up in the chair beside the bed, exhausted, finally asleep. And Harold felt something he hadn't felt since Korea. Despair, not for himself. He'd survived worse. But Tommy had seen everything, watched his grandfather get beaten, been helpless to stop it. What would that do to him? What kind of man would he become carrying that fear Harold had promised to protect him? He had failed. The door opened. A nurse walked in, one Harold hadn't seen before. She checked his chart, adjusted his IV. Can't sleep. No. Pain medication should help. It's not the pain. She looked at him, really looked. I heard what happened, she said quietly. Everyone has. It's all anyone's talking about. Great. My brother rides with a group, motorcycle club, Hell's Angels. Harold blinked. Hell's Angels? They're not what people think. Most of them are veterans. Like you. She paused. They take care of their own. I'm not one of their own. Any veteran is one of their own. That's what they believe. She picked up the chart. Just thought you should know. You're not alone, even if it feels that way. She left. Harold stared at the ceiling. Hell's Angels. He'd heard the stories. Outlaws, troublemakers, criminals, but veterans, he hadn't known that. Morning came. Gray light through the blinds. Tommy stirred, rubbed his eyes. Grandpa, you awake? Yeah, soldier. Tommy climbed carefully onto the bed, curled up against Harold's side. I had a nightmare. About what? The men, they were chasing me. I couldn't run fast enough. It was just a dream. They're not here. What if they come back? Harold didn't answer. Grandpa, they won't, Harold said finally. Cowards like that only attack when they think they can get away with it. You're not a coward. No. When I grow up, I want to be brave like you. Harold's eyes burned. You already are, buddy. You already are. Dr. Chen discharged him at noon, against medical advice. But Harold didn't care. He'd spent enough time in hospitals. Ellen came with a wheelchair. Hospital policy. They rolled him through the lobby. Nurses waved. Orderlies nodded. And everywhere whispers. That's him, the veteran. Mayor's son did it. Nothing'll happen. You know how this town works. Shame, he didn't deserve this. Harold kept his eyes forward. But Tommy was listening, and Tommy's fists were clenched. They were loading Harold into the car when it happened. A black SUV pulled up. Expensive, tinted windows. A woman stepped out. 50s, elegant, designer dress, perfect hair. Behind her, a man in a suit. Mrs. Brennan? Ellen froze. Who are you, Howard from? Oh. Patricia Thornton. I believe you know who my son is. Ellen's face went white, then red. Get away from us. Mrs. Brennan, please. I'm here to... I said get away. Ellen stepped in front of Harold's wheelchair. Your son nearly killed my father in front of my child, and you have the audacity to come here. I'm here to apologize. Apologize. Ellen laughed, harsh, bitter. You think an apology fixes this? Patricia's composure cracked. No, I don't. But I had to try. Her voice shook. What Blake did was evil. There's no excuse, no justification. Then why are you here? Patricia reached into her purse, pulled out a check. Blank. Whatever you think is fair. Medical bills, pain and suffering, whatever you want. Ellen stared at it. You think you can buy your way out of this? No, I know I can't. Tears streamed down Patricia's face. My son is sick. He's been sick for years. His father enables him, protects him. I've been too weak to stop it. Silence. I know this doesn't fix anything, Patricia continued. But I needed you to know not everyone in my family is a monster. Some of us are just complicit. And maybe that's worse. She set the check on Harold's lap. Whatever you decide to do, I'll support it. If you want to press charges, I'll testify against my own son. She turned and walked away. Ellen stood frozen. Harold picked up the check, looked at it for a long moment. Then he tore it in half. Dad, some things can't be bought, Harold said quietly, and some things shouldn't be. Sorry. They drove home in silence. The house felt different, emptier, colder. Harold sank onto the couch. Tommy pressed against his side. Grandpa, yeah, buddy, your hat, the one with the eagle. Where is it? Harold's hand went to his head, empty, his cap, his 7th Infantry Division cap, gone, left in that parking lot, floating in a muddy puddle while those boys laughed. For the first time since the attack, something inside Harold cracked. It was just a cap, just cloth and thread, but it was also 50 years of service, of sacrifice, of remembering the men who never came home. Grandpa, Tommy's voice was scared. Are you crying? Harold wiped his eyes. It's okay to be sad, he whispered. That's what I always tell you, saw it? Tommy wrapped his arms around Harold. I'll get you a new hat, Grandpa, I promise. It won't be the same. I know. Tommy's voice was fierce. But it'll be from me. And that makes it special. Right? Harold couldn't speak. He just held his grandson and cried. Night fell. Ellen made soup. Tommy watched cartoons with the volume low. Harold dozed on the couch. His dreams were dark, full of fists and laughter and his grandson's screams. At 8 p.m., something woke him. A sound, low, distant, growing louder. Engines. Tommy ran to the window. "Grandpa, Grandpa, come look!" Harold pushed himself up, limped to the window, and froze. The street was filling with motorcycles. 1, then 5, then 15, then more. Chrome gleaming under the streetlights, leather vests catching the glow, engines rumbling like thunder. They pulled up in front of Harold's house. One by one, 20, 30, 43. The lead rider dismounted. He was huge, shoulders like a linebacker, face like carved stone, eyes that had seen war. He walked toward the house. Tommy grabbed Harold's hand. "Grandpa, who are they?" Harold stared at the lead rider, at the patches on his vest, at the words stitched across his back. "Hell's Angels." "I think," Harold said slowly, "they're angels." The doorbell rang. Harold's hand trembled on the doorknob. 43 motorcycles, 43 men in leather, 43 engines still rumbling like a warning. "Grandpa, don't open it." Tommy's voice was small, scared. "What if they're bad guys too?" Harold looked through the peephole. The man on the other side was massive, 6'4" at least, arms covered in tattoos, face like it had been carved from granite and beaten with a hammer. But his eyes, Harold had seen those eyes before. In the mirror, in the faces of men who'd crawled through hell and somehow made it back. Soldiers' eyes. He opened the door. The big man didn't move, didn't speak, just studied Harold's face, the stitches, the bruises, the swelling. "You Harold Brennan." His voice was deep, gravelly, like he gargled with motor oil. "Who's asking?" "Name's Rex Gallagher. People call me Ironclad." He paused. "I'm president of the Montana chapter. Hell's Angels." Ellen appeared behind Harold. "Dad, what's going on? Who are these?" She saw the motorcycles, the men. Her face went white. "Oh my God." "Ma'am," Ironclad nodded respectfully. "We're not here to cause trouble." "Then why are you here?" Ellen's voice rose. "My father was just attacked. We don't need more. We know." Ironclad's voice cut through her panic. Calm, steady. "That's why we're here." Harold's eyes narrowed. "How do you know by our word travels fast when a veteran gets jumped, especially by some rich punk who thinks daddy's money makes him untouchable?" Tommy pushed past Harold's legs. He stared up at Ironclad with huge eyes. "Are you a bad guy?" Ironclad looked down at the boy. Something shifted in his face. The hardness cracked just for a second. "No, little man, I'm not. Promise. I promise, Mato." Tommy studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay, you can come in." Ellen grabbed Tommy's shoulder. "Tommy, you can't just..." "It's all right." Harold's voice was quiet. He was still looking at Ironclad, still reading those eyes. "Let them in." "Dad, Ellen, trust me." She didn't. Harold could see it in her face, but she stepped aside. Ironclad walked in. 3 other men followed. The rest stayed outside, engines idling. Harold noticed they positioned themselves around the property, watching the street, watching the neighbors, watching everything. Like a perimeter, like soldiers. Ironclad stopped in the living room. He didn't sit. None of them did. "Mr. Brennan, I'm going to be straight with you. We heard what happened at that parking lot. We heard the cops came and went. We heard nothing's going to be done. News travels fast. In our world, it does." Ironclad crossed his arms. "I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Marine Corps. Most of my brothers out there served too. Army, Navy, some Air Force, but we don't hold that against them." One of the men behind him snorted. "Point is," Ironclad continued, "we take care of our own. Any man who wore the uniform is family. Any man who got hurt protecting his grandson deserves protection in return." Harold shook his head. "I appreciate the sentiment, but you don't know what you're getting into. The boy who attacked me, his father's the mayor." "Vincent Thornton, yeah, we know." "Then you know going after his son is suicide. He owns half this town. The cops, the judges, probably the governor." Ironclad smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Mr. Brennan, with respect, we're not from this town. We don't answer to mayors. We don't answer to judges. We answer to each other. They'll come after you. Let them try. Tommy tugged on Ironclad's vest. Mister, are you going to hurt the bad men who hurt my grandpa? The room went silent. Ironclad knelt down, eye level with Tommy, his massive frame folded like a mountain Boeing. What's your name, little man? Tommy. Tommy, that's a good name. Ironclad's voice softened. You were there, weren't you, when it happened? Tommy nodded, his eyes filled with tears. You tried to help your grandpa, Warren? Another nod. That was brave. Real brave, braver than most grown men. I couldn't stop them. Tommy's voice cracked. I tried, but I couldn't. I know. That's not your fault. You were one kid against 4 grown men. Nobody could have stopped the ram. But you could have. Right if you were there, Ironclad's jaw tightened. Yeah, Tommy, if I was there, I would have stopped them. Will you stop them now before they hurt someone else's grandpa? Ironclad looked at Harold, then at Ellen, then back at Tommy. That's why we're here, little man. That's exactly why we're here. Tommy threw his arms around Ironclad's neck. The big man froze. For just a second, he looked completely lost, like no one had hugged him in years. Then his arms wrapped around the boy, gentle, protective. It's gonna be okay, Ironclad whispered. I promise. Ellen was crying. She didn't even try to hide it. Harold just watched, his throat too tight to speak. When Tommy finally let go, Ironclad stood up. His eyes were red. He cleared his throat roughly. We're gonna need information. Everything you remember. Names, faces, what they drove, what they said. I told the police. The police aren't going to do anything. We are. Harold hesitated. This was wrong. He knew it was wrong. Taking the law into your own hands, that wasn't how things were supposed to work. But the law had already failed him, failed Tommy, failed everyone who couldn't afford a mayor for a father. The leader's name is Blake, Harold said finally. Blake Thornton, young, mid-20s, tall, broad. Acts like the world owes him everything. It won't for much longer. He had 3 friends with him. One was named Kyle, nervous kid, didn't want to be there but was too scared to leave. Ironclad nodded. One of his men was writing everything down. The truck was black, lifted, chrome everywhere, custom job, had to cost $60,000-70,000 at least. We'll find it. They filmed it. Harold's voice hardened. One of them filmed the whole thing on his phone, thought it was funny. Ironclad's face went dark. Did they now? Yeah, they were laughing, high-fiving like they'd won a game. Mr. Brennan, Ironclad's voice was cold now, dangerous. We're not going to do anything illegal. I want you to understand that. We're not going to hurt anybody. We're not going to break any laws. Then what are you going to do? Ironclad smiled again. That same unpleasant smile. We're going to remind some people that actions have consequences. We're going to make sure that video gets seen by everyone who matters. And we're going to make sure Blake Thornton understands that there are people in this world his daddy's money can't touch. How? By being everywhere, by being unavoidable, by making sure that every time he looks over his shoulder, he sees us watching. Harold studied the man. That's it? You're just going to watch him? You'd be surprised how effective watching can be. Men like Blake Thornton, they're used to being untouchable. They've never felt fear, never felt consequences. We're going to change that. And if it doesn't work, Ironclad's eyes went flat. It'll work. The way he said it left no room for doubt. Tommy tugged Harold's sleeve. Grandpa, can they stay, please? Harold looked at his grandson, at the hope in his eyes, the first hope he'd seen since the attack. That's up to them, soldier. Ironclad nodded. We'll have men outside all night, rotating shifts. Nobody's getting near this house. You don't have to, Yeah, we do. Ironclad put his hand on Harold's shoulder. You served your country for 3 years. You earned this. Let us serve you for one night. Harold's eyes stung. He'd spent his whole life being strong, being the protector, being the one everyone leaned on. He'd forgotten what it felt like to be protected. Thank you, he whispered. Don't thank us yet. Ironclad headed for the door. Thank us when Blake Thornton's behind bars where he belongs. He paused at the threshold. Get some rest, Mr. Brennan. Tomorrow everything changes. The door closed behind him. Through the window, Harold watched the bikers take positions around the property. Silent, watchful, a wall of leather and chrome. Tommy pressed against his side. Grandpa, yeah, buddy. I think they really are angels. Harold pulled him close. Yeah, I think they might be. That night, for the first time since the attack, Harold slept without nightmares. The next morning, Harold woke to the smell of coffee. He sat up slowly. His ribs protested. His knees screamed. But somehow he felt better, stronger. Ellen was in the kitchen talking quietly into her phone. I understand. Yes, I'll tell him. Thank you. She hung up. Who was that? Ruth from the feed store. Ellen poured him a cup of coffee. Her hands were shaking. Dad, you need to see something. She handed him her phone. On the screen was a video. Harold's stomach dropped. It was him, lying on the ground, blood everywhere. Blake and his friends kicking him, laughing, filming. Where did this come from? It's everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, the news. Someone leaked it last night. Who? Ellen shook her head. No one knows, but Dad, the comments. There are thousands of them. People are furious. They're calling for Blake's arrest. They're calling for the mayor to resign. Harold scrolled through. Disgusting. That poor man served our country, and this is how we treat him. Blake Thornton is a monster. Arrest him now. His father protects him because he has money. This is everything wrong with America. Where are the police? Why isn't he in jail? There's more, Ellen said. The local news called. They want to interview you. So does Channel 7 and CNN. CNN. Dad, this thing is going national. Harold set down the phone. National. This wasn't what he wanted. He didn't want attention. Didn't want to be the center of some media circus. But then he thought of Tommy. Tommy who had watched his grandfather get beaten. Tommy who had nightmares every night. Tommy who needed to see that the world wasn't completely broken. Set up the interviews, Harold said. Ellen blinked. Are you sure? Yeah, if people want to hear my story, I'll tell it. All of it. Ellen hugged him, quick, tight. I'm proud of you, Dad. Don't be proud yet. We haven't won anything. We will. Harold wished he shared her confidence. The first interview was at noon. A reporter from the local station. Young woman, eager, sympathetic. Harold told her everything. The parking lot, the attack, the police who came and went, the mayor's son who thought he was untouchable. He didn't mention the Hells Angels. That wasn't his story to tell. But he did show her Tommy's hands, the small hands that had been covered in his grandfather's blood, the small hands that still trembled when anyone raised their voice. This isn't about me, Harold said, looking directly into the camera. I'm an old man. I've survived worse. This is about my grandson. This is about a 6-year-old boy who watched 4 grown men beat his hero into the ground. This is about what kind of country we want to live in. One where money buys immunity, or one where everyone answers for their actions. The interview aired at 5. By 6, it had 1 million views. By 8, the mayor's office released a statement. We are aware of the allegations against Blake Thornton. The matter is being investigated thoroughly. No one is above the law. Harold laughed when he read it. No one is above the law. Then why wasn't Blake in handcuffs? The Hells Angels came back that night. Different men this time, but the same presence, the same watchfulness. Ironclad wasn't with them. A man named Ghost, thin, quiet, covered in scars, explained why. Boss is working, following leads, building a case. What kind of case? Ghost smiled. It was somehow more unsettling than Ironclad's. The kind that doesn't go away. Harold didn't ask for details. He wasn't sure he wanted to know. 2 days passed. The story grew. More interviews, more outrage, more pressure on the mayor's office. But Blake Thornton remained free. He disappeared, hiding somewhere, probably in one of his father's properties, surrounded by lawyers and security. Tommy had stopped asking when the bad man would be punished. He'd stopped asking about the treehouse too. He barely spoke at all. Harold watched his grandson retreat further into himself each day. It was killing him. On the 3rd night, Harold was sitting on the porch when the motorcycles returned. But this time it was different. Ironclad was there, and he was smiling. Mr. Brennan, we found something. Harold stood up. What? The video, the one they filmed on their phones, turns out it wasn't just on social media. What do you mean? Ironclad pulled out his phone, showed Harold a screenshot. Kyle Martinez, the nervous one, he kept the original video, all 12 minutes of it. 12 minutes. The version that went viral was edited 30 seconds. This one shows everything, including the part where Blake says, and I quote, "My dad will make sure nothing happens. He always does." Harold's heart stopped. That's confession, premeditation, evidence that the mayor has been covering for his son. Ironclad's smile widened. The kind of evidence that doesn't disappear no matter how much money you have. How did you get it? Kyle's conscience caught up with him. Turns out, watching a 74-year-old veteran get beaten in front of his grandson didn't sit well with him. He reached out. We listened. He just gave it to you. He did more than that. He agreed to testify against Blake, against the cover-up, against everything. Harold sat down heavily. Why would he do that? Because we gave him something his rich friends never did. We gave him a chance to be a decent human being. Harold was silent for a long moment. What happens now? Now Ironclad pulled out a flash drive. This goes to every news station in the country, and to the FBI, and to the state attorney general, and to anyone else who will listen. The mayor can't stop what's already in motion. By tomorrow morning, this will be the biggest story in America, and Blake Thornton will have nowhere left to hide. Harold looked at the flash drive. Such a small thing, such a powerful thing. Do it, he said. Ironclad nodded. Already done. The story broke at midnight. Exclusive full video reveals mayor's son bragged about immunity during veteran attack. Witness comes forward. Blake Thornton said his father would protect him. FBI opens investigation into Mayor Vincent Thornton. By morning, the world had changed. The mayor held a press conference at 9 a.m. Harold watched it with Tommy on his lap. Vincent Thornton looked like he'd aged 20 years overnight. His face was gray. His hands shook. His voice cracked. I want to address the allegations against my son and against myself. He paused, swallowed. I have made mistakes, terrible mistakes. I used my position to protect my son from consequences he should have faced years ago. I enabled his behavior. I covered up his crimes. And because of my failures, an innocent man was hurt. A child was traumatized. His voice broke completely. I am resigning as mayor effective immediately, and I am urging my son to turn himself in. Blake, he looked directly at the camera. Son, if you're watching, please end this. Face what you've done. It's the only way forward. The press conference ended. Tommy looked up at Harold. Grandpa, does this mean the bad man is going to jail? I don't know, buddy. I hope so. Me too. Harold held him tighter. 3 hours later, Blake Thornton walked into the Pinewood Valley Police Station. Alone, no lawyers, no security, no father. He was crying. Harold found out later what happened inside. Blake had confessed to everything. The attack, the previous incidents his father had covered up, the DUIs, the assault charges, everything. He'd asked to see Harold. The police said no, but Blake had written a letter. It arrived at Harold's house that evening. Ellen wanted to throw it away. Harold made her give it to him. He read it alone. Mr. Brennan, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. What I did to you was evil. What I did to your grandson was unforgivable. I've spent my whole life believing I was special, that rules didn't apply to me, that I could do whatever I wanted because my father would always protect me. I was wrong. The moment I saw you on the ground, I felt powerful. I felt like a gum. Now I know what I really was. A coward, a bully, a monster. I'm going to prison. I know that, and I deserve worse. But I wanted you to know, watching that video, seeing the fear in your grandson's eyes, hearing him scream for you to wake up. Something broke inside me. I don't know if I can ever be a good person. But I'm going to try. For the first time in my life, I'm going to try. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Blake Thornton. Harold read the letter 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. Ellen found him on the porch an hour later. Dad, you okay? Yeah. What did it say? Harold was quiet for a long moment. He said he's sorry. Do you believe him? Harold thought about it, really thought about it. I don't know, but I think he might be telling the truth. How can you even consider forgiving him? I'm not forgiving him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Harold looked at his daughter. But hate is a poison, Ellen. It only hurts the person carrying it. If Blake Thornton genuinely wants to change, that's between him and God. It's not my job to punish him forever. Ellen sat down beside him. You're a better person than me, Dad. No, I'm just older. I've learned that carrying anger is exhausting, and I'm too tired for exhausting. They sat in silence for a while. Then Ellen spoke again. The Hells Angels. They did this. They made this happen. Yeah. How do we thank them? Harold smiled. I have an idea. The next day, Harold drove to Iron Horse Customs. Ironclad was in the garage welding a gas tank. He looked up when Harold walked in. Mr. Brennan, you shouldn't be driving. Probably not. Harold leaned on his cane. But I needed to see you in person. Ironclad set down his torch, pulled off his mask. What can I do for you? Harold reached into his pocket, pulled out an envelope. This is every penny the Thornton woman tried to give me. I tore up her check, but Ellen tracked her down. Asked her to write another one, for you. Ironclad didn't take it. We don't want money. It's not for you personally. It's for the chapter, for whatever you do to help veterans. I heard you have programs, services, support for guys coming home. We do. Then use this, please. Ironclad studied Harold for a long moment. You know you don't owe us anything. I know, but I want to do this. You gave me something money can't buy. You gave me hope. You gave my grandson hope. Let me give something back. Ironclad finally took the envelope. Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Harold? Call me Harold. Thank you, Harold. They shook hands. Ironclad's grip was strong, steady. The grip of a man who meant what he said. There's something else, Harold said. What's that? My grandson, Tommy. He wants to meet you, properly. Not in the middle of a crisis. He wants to show you something. Show me what? Harold smiled. You'll have to come see for yourself. That afternoon, Ironclad and 5 of his brothers pulled up to Harold's house. Tommy was waiting on the porch. He was bouncing on his heels, eyes bright, more alive than he'd been in days. You came, Ironclad dismounted. Told you I would, little man. What did you want to show me? Tommy grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the backyard. The other bikers followed, so did Harold and Ellen. In the backyard, propped against the old oak tree, was a wooden sign. Tommy had painted it himself. It read, Thank you, Angles. Ellen had tried to correct the spelling. Tommy refused. Angels have wings, Tommy had explained. These guys have motorcycles. So they're angles, like in math, sharp and strong. Ironclad stared at the sign. His jaw worked. His eyes glistened. Tommy, he said finally, this is the best thing anyone's ever given me. Really? Really, Ironclad knelt down. Can I tell you something? Tommy nodded. When I came back from Afghanistan, I was broken. I didn't think I'd ever feel whole again. I joined the Angels because they gave me a family, a purpose, but sometimes I still wondered if any of it mattered. He pointed at the sign. This matters. This right here. You matter. Your grandpa matters. Knowing we helped you, that's going to stay with me forever. Tommy threw his arms around Ironclad's neck. You're my hero, Tommy whispered. Ironclad held him tight. No, little man. Your grandpa's the hero. I'm just a guy with a motorcycle. You're both heroes. Ironclad laughed. It was a real laugh, warm, surprised. Okay, we're both heroes. He stood up, Tommy still in his arms. So, I heard something about a treehouse that needs building. Tommy's eyes went wide. You know about that. Your grandpa mentioned it, said you had big plans. The biggest, a rope ladder, a lookout tower, a secret compartment for treasures. Ironclad looked at Harold. Mind if we help? Harold's throat was too tight to speak. He just nodded. That weekend, 43 Hells Angels descended on Harold's backyard. They brought lumber, tools, skills. They built the most magnificent treehouse Pinewood Valley had ever seen. It had a rope ladder, a lookout tower, a secret compartment, and a flag. Not just American, a custom flag that Ghost had sewn himself. It showed a small boy standing between a veteran and a biker. Underneath it read, "Courage has no age." When it was finished, Tommy climbed to the top. He looked out over the yard, at his grandpa, at his mom, at 43 men in leather who had come into his life like angels. "This is the best day ever," Tommy shouted. And for the first time since the attack, Harold believed things might actually be okay. That night, after everyone had left, Harold tucked Tommy into bed. "Grandpa, yeah, buddy. Do you think the angels will come back?" Harold smiled. "I think they'll come back whenever you need them." "Good." Tommy yawned. "Grandpa, yeah, I'm not scared anymore." Harold's heart cracked open. "I'm glad, soldier. I'm so glad." "Grandpa, yeah, I love you. I love you too, buddy. More than you'll ever know." Tommy closed his eyes. Within minutes, he was asleep. Harold watched him for a long time. Then he walked to the window. Outside in the darkness, a single motorcycle sat at the end of the street, watching, guarding, keeping its promise. Harold raised his hand. The rider raised his back. And Harold Brennan finally understood what brotherhood meant. 3 weeks passed. Blake Thornton sat in a jail cell awaiting trial. His father's lawyers had abandoned him one by one. The money that once bought silence now bought nothing. Harold's wounds healed slowly. The stitches came out. The bruises faded from purple to yellow to nothing. But his knee would never be the same. The doctors said the shrapnel had shifted permanently. He'd need a cane for the rest of his life. He didn't complain. Tommy had stopped having nightmares. He spent every afternoon in his treehouse talking to imaginary friends, planning imaginary adventures. Sometimes Harold would hear him pretending to be a biker, making engine noises with his mouth. It made Harold smile every time. Ellen had cut back to one job. The story had gone so viral that a GoFundMe page appeared without anyone asking. $300,000 in 2 weeks. Ellen cried when she saw the number. Harold told her to donate half to veteran services. She donated 70%. Life was returning to normal. Then the letter arrived. Harold was on the porch drinking coffee when the mail truck pulled up. The carrier, a young man Harold had known since he was Tommy's age, walked up with a thick envelope. "Morning, Mr. Brennan. Got something official for you." Harold took the envelope. His stomach dropped when he saw the return address, Montana State Prosecutor's Office. "Everything okay?" the carrier asked. "We'll see." Harold waited until he was alone to open it. Inside was a formal letter, legal language, official stamps. But the message was simple. Blake Thornton's trial was scheduled for next month. Harold was being called as the primary witness. His testimony would determine whether Blake received the maximum sentence, 20 years. Harold read the number 3 times. 20 years. Blake Thornton was 26 years old. If convicted, he'd be 46 when he got out. His entire youth gone. His entire life derailed. Because of one stupid, brutal, unforgivable decision. Harold set down the letter. He didn't know how to feel. Part of him wanted Blake to rot. Wanted him to suffer every day for what he'd done. For the fear in Tommy's eyes, for the blood on the pavement, for the cap that still hadn't been found. But another part remembered being 26, remembered the mistakes he'd made, the things he'd done in Korea that had still haunted him. He'd been given second chances. Did Blake deserve one? Harold didn't know. Ellen found him still sitting there an hour later. "Dad, what's wrong?" He handed her the letter. She read it quickly. Her face hardened. "Good, he deserves every year." "Does he?" Ellen stared at him. "Are you serious right now?" "I'm asking a question." "He almost killed you, Dad. In front of your grandson, in front of my son." "I know." "Then how can you even—" "Because hate is exhausting, Ellen." Harold's voice was tired, "and I'm too old to carry it anymore." Ellen sat down heavily. "I don't understand you. I really don't. I'm not saying forgive him. I'm not saying let him go. I'm saying," Harold struggled for words, "I'm saying I don't know if destroying his entire life is the right answer. It's justice. Is it? Or is it revenge?" Ellen had no answer. They sat in silence until Tommy came running around the corner. Grandpa, come see, I found a bird's nest in the treehouse." Harold pushed himself up, grabbed his cane. "Show me, soldier." Tommy grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the backyard. Ellen watched them go. The letter sat on the table between them. 20 years. The weight of it pressed down on all of them. That night, Harold called Ironclad. I need advice about the trial. How did you know? I know everything, Harold. It's kind of my job. Harold almost smiled. They want me to testify. My testimony could put him away for 20 years. Said, and I don't know if that's right. Silence on the other end. You're asking the wrong person, Ironclad finally said. Why? Because if it was up to me, Blake Thornton would have disappeared into the mountains weeks ago. Nobody would have found him. Ever. Harold's blood chilled. But it's not up to me, Ironclad continued. And it's not up to you either. The law decides. All you can do is tell the truth. The truth will destroy him. The truth didn't destroy him. His own choices destroyed him. You're just the mirror. Harold let that sink in. What would you do in my position? I'd tell the truth, every word of it, and then I'd let the chips fall where they fall. Ironclad paused. But Harold, whatever you decide, we've got your back. You want to show mercy? We'll support you. You want to bury him? We'll support that too. Why but that? Because you're family now, and family doesn't judge. Family just shows up. Harold's throat tightened. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just get some sleep. You've got a hard road ahead. The line went dead. Harold sat in the darkness for a long time, thinking. The next morning, Harold did something no one expected. He went to the jail. Ellen tried to stop him. Dad, this is insane. You can't. I need to see him. Why? Because I need to look him in the eye. I need to see if there's anything human left in there. What if there isn't? Harold grabbed his cane. Then I'll know what to do. The drive took 30 minutes. Harold's knee ached the whole way. The Pinewood Valley County Jail was small, built in the 70s and never updated. Harold walked in and approached the desk. I'm here to see Blake Thornton. The guard, young nervous, blinked at him. Sir, are you Harold Brennan? I am. Sir, you're the victim. You can't just, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to talk to him. I don't think that's allowed. Check with your supervisor. The guard hesitated, then picked up the phone. 5 minutes later, Harold was being escorted to a visitation room. Blake was already there. He looked terrible. Pale, thin, dark circles under his eyes. His hands trembled on the table. When he saw Harold, he flinched like he'd been struck. Mr. Brennan, sit down. Blake sat. Harold lowered himself into the chair across from him. The guard stood by the door. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Harold studied the young man, looked past the designer haircut that had grown out, past the arrogant jaw that now trembled, past the eyes that had once held such cruelty. What he saw surprised him. Fear. Not fear of prison, not fear of consequences, fear of himself. Why did you come? Blake's voice cracked. I needed to see you. Why? Because I'm going to testify at your trial, and I wanted to look you in the eye first. Blake's face crumpled. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything. I know words can't fix what I did. But I need you to know. Stop. Blake stopped. Harold leaned forward. I didn't come here for apologies. I came here for answers. Answers. Why did you do it? Not the excuses, not the drugs or the alcohol or the daddy issues. The real reason. Why did you hurt me? Blake was silent for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Because I could. Harold waited. I've spent my whole life being told I was special. That rules didn't apply to me. That I could have whatever I wanted, do whatever I wanted, and nothing would ever happen. Blake's hands clenched. I started to believe it. I started to think I was better than everyone, than the people who worked for a living, than the people who followed rules, than the people who showed respect. Like me. Like you. Blake looked up. His eyes were wet. When you stood up to me in that store, something inside me snapped. No one had ever said no to me. No one had ever looked at me like I was ordinary, like I wasn't special. So you decided to prove you were. Yes, and I did. I proved exactly what I was. Blake's voice broke. A monster. Harold let the word hang in the air. My grandson has nightmares, Harold said quietly. Every night, he wakes up screaming your name. Blake flinched like he'd been shot. He's 6 years old. He saw his grandfather's head bounce off concrete. He saw four men kicking and laughing. He saw blood everywhere. Mr. Brennan, he asked me if you're going to come back. He asks if you're going to hurt him too. He sleeps with a baseball bat under his bed. Tears streamed down Blake's face. I didn't think about. No, you didn't think. That's the problem. Harold's voice hardened. You didn't think about anyone but yourself. You didn't think about the old man you were beating. You didn't think about the child watching. You didn't think about anything except how powerful you felt. I know. Do you really? Blake nodded frantically. I do now, and here alone with nothing but time. I see it. I see what I did. I see what I am, and I hate it. I hate myself. Good. Blake looked up, startled. Hating yourself is the first step, Harold said. It means there's still something human inside you. Something worth saving. You think I can be saved? Harold was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. That's not up to me. That's up to you. I'll do anything. I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it. Words are easy, Blake. Everyone makes promises when they're desperate. The question is what you do when the desperation fades. What you do when you are free again. What you do when no one's watching. Blake wiped his eyes. I'll be different. I swear. Don't swear to me. Harold stood up. Swear to the 6-year-old boy who can't sleep at night. Swear to his mother who works 2 jobs to keep him safe. Swear to every person you've ever hurt because you thought you were special. Blake nodded. I swear. On my life. I swear. Harold looked at him for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out. He didn't look back. The trial began on a Tuesday. The courtroom was packed. Media from across the country, protesters outside, police everywhere. Harold sat in the front row with Ellen and Tommy. Ironclad had offered to come. Harold had declined. This needs to be about the law, Harold had said, not about intimidation. The law already failed you once. Maybe, but I have to believe it can work. Otherwise, what's the point? Ironclad had respected his decision. But Harold noticed the motorcycles parked 3 blocks away, the leather vest in the crowd, the watchful eyes. They were there, just in case. The prosecutor was a woman named Sarah Chen, no relation to his doctor, sharp eyes, sharper tongue. Mr. Brennan, can you describe what happened on the morning of September 14th? Harold described it, every detail, the parking lot, the confrontation, the shoves, the kicks, the laughter. And your grandson was present during all of this? Yes. How old is your grandson? 6. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. What did your grandson do during the attack? Harold's voice wavered. He screamed, he pounded on the truck window. He begged them to stop. And when you lost consciousness, he ran inside to get help. He saved my life. A 6-year-old boy. Yes. Sarah Chen turned to the jury. A 6-year-old boy had to watch his grandfather get beaten nearly to death. A 6-year-old boy had to run for help while his hero lay bleeding on the ground. A 6-year-old boy now has nightmares every night because 4 grown men thought it would be fun to hurt an elderly veteran. She pointed at Blake. That man made those choices. That man caused that trauma. And that man needs to face the consequences. The defense attorney, a young public defender who'd replaced the expensive lawyers, tried his best. Mr. Brennan, is it true that you struck my client first? I defended myself. He shoved me. I grabbed his wrist. So you initiated physical contact. He initiated the confrontation. He followed me to my vehicle. He surrounded me with 3 other men. He refused to let me leave. But technically, I'm a 74-year-old veteran with a bad knee and shrapnel in my leg. He's a 26-year-old man with 3 friends. If you think I was the aggressor, you're either lying or you're blind. The courtroom erupted. The judge called for order. The defense attorney sat down. He didn't ask any more questions. Then came the video, the full 12 minutes. The courtroom watched in absolute silence. Harold heard Tommy whimper beside him. Ellen pulled the boy close, covering his ears, but Tommy was watching. Through his fingers, through his tears. He was watching his worst memory play out on a giant screen. When it was over, half the jury was crying. Blake sat with his head in his hands. His shoulders shook. The prosecutor rested her case. Then something unexpected happened. Blake asked to speak. "Your Honor, I would like to address the court." The judge hesitated. "Mr. Thornton, your attorney advises." "I don't care what he advises. I need to say something." The judge looked at the public defender. The young man shrugged helplessly. "Very well, you may speak." Blake stood. He looked at the jury first, then the gallery, then Harold. "I'm guilty." The courtroom buzzed. "I'm guilty of everything they accuse me of. I attacked Harold Brennan. I beat him in front of his grandson. I laughed while I did it. I filmed it like it was entertainment." His voice cracked. "I'm guilty, and I deserve whatever punishment you give me." The prosecutor looked stunned. This wasn't part of her plan. "But before you decide my fate," Blake continued, "I need you to understand something. This isn't about me. It's not about my father or his money or his power. It's about a choice," he pointed at Harold. "That man served his country. He fought in a war so that people like me could grow up safe and free. He sacrificed years of his life, pieces of his body, parts of his soul. And how did I repay him? I beat him like an animal." Tears streamed down Blake's face. "I have no excuse. There is no excuse. I was cruel and arrogant and evil. But Mr. Brennan, he came to see me. In jail. He looked me in the eye and asked me why." Blake's voice broke completely. "And for the first time in my life, I had to face what I really am. Not special, not powerful, not above the rules. Just a broken, pathetic, scared little boy who hurt people to feel big." He turned to Harold. "Mr. Brennan, I know you can't forgive me. I know your grandson will have nightmares for years because of what I did. I know nothing I say can undo that damage." He fell to his knees. "But I want you to know, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to become the man you thought I could be. The man you saw in that jail cell. The man who might still be saved." "Mr. Thornton," the judge started. "I'm not asking for mercy," Blake said. "I'm asking for a chance to prove that people can change, to prove that monsters can become men." He looked at Tommy. "I'm sorry, little man. I'm so sorry I scared you. I'm so sorry I hurt your grandpa. You were braver than I've ever been. And I promise I will never hurt anyone again. As long as I live." The courtroom was silent. Tommy stared at Blake. Then he stood up. "Tommy," Ellen grabbed his arm. "Let me go, Mom." "Tommy, please." "Let me go." Ellen released him. Tommy walked to the front of the courtroom. Every eye followed him. He stopped in front of Blake, who was still on his knees. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Tommy said something that made the whole room gasp. "I forgive you." Blake stared at him. "What? I forgive you." Tommy's voice was steady, older than his years. "Grandpa says hate is poison. He says it only hurts the person carrying it. I don't want to carry it anymore." Blake started sobbing. "But I need you to promise," Tommy continued. "Really promise. Not just words. Promise that you'll be good. Promise that you'll help people instead of hurting them. Promise that you'll make Grandpa proud." "I promise." Blake's voice was a wreck. "I promise. I promise. I promise." Tommy nodded. Then he did something no one expected. He hugged Blake Thornton, the man who had nearly killed his grandfather. The monster from his nightmares. He wrapped his small arms around Blake's neck and held on. Blake froze. Then his arms came up, carefully, like he was holding something precious, something breakable. "Thank you," Blake whispered. "Thank you." The courtroom was in chaos. Cameras flashing, people crying, the judge banging her gavel. But in the center of it all, a 6-year-old boy who's teaching the world what forgiveness looked like. Harold watched from his seat. His eyes were wet, his heart was full, and for the first time since Korea, he believed that people could truly change. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. They found Blake Thornton guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 5 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 3, not 20. 5. The prosecutor was furious. "This is a miscarriage of justice." But Harold wasn't furious. He was at peace because he'd seen something in that courtroom. Something real. Something that couldn't be faked. He'd seen a monster become a man. After the verdict, Harold approached Blake one last time. The guards were leading him away. Blake! Blake turned. Harold extended his hand. When you get out, come find me. There's a veteran mentorship program that needs volunteers. I think you'd be good at it. Blake stared at the hand. Then he took it. I will, I promise. I know you will. The guards led Blake away. Harold watched him go. Ellen appeared at his side. You okay, Dad? Harold nodded. Yeah, I think I am. Outside the courthouse, Ironclad was waiting. 43 motorcycles lined the street. Heard the verdict, Ironclad said. 5 years, how do you feel? Like justice was served. Ironclad raised an eyebrow. Some people think he got off easy. Some people don't understand redemption. Ironclad studied Harold for a long moment. You're a better man than most, Harold Brennan. No, I'm just tired of being angry. Tommy ran up and grabbed Ironclad's leg. Did you hear I hugged the bad man? I heard little man. That was very brave. Grandpa says brave isn't about fighting. It's about doing the right thing, even when you're scared. Ironclad looked at Harold. Your grandpa's pretty smart. The smartest, Ironclad laughed. How about we celebrate? There's a diner down the road. Best pie in Montana. Tommy's eyes went wide. P.I.E. Blueberry, fresh baked. Grandpa, can we go, please? Harold smiled. Lead the way. The convoy rolled down the street, 43 motorcycles escorting one old Chevy truck. People stopped and stared. Cameras flashed, but Harold didn't care. He had his grandson, he had his family, he had his brothers, and for the first time in a long time, he had hope. 6 months passed, the seasons changed, summer faded into autumn. Autumn surrendered to winter. Snow covered the mountains around Pinewood Valley like a white blanket pulled over a sleeping child. Harold's knee never fully recovered. The doctor said it never would. The shrapnel had shifted too far, damaged too much. He walked with a cane, now every step a reminder of that parking lot. But Harold didn't mind. Every step is also a reminder that he was alive, that Tommy was safe, that justice had been served. Tommy turned 7 in October. The party was held in the treehouse. Ironclad came. So did Ghost and 6 other angels. They brought a cake shaped like a motorcycle. Tommy nearly exploded with joy. Best birthday ever, he screamed, frosting smeared across his face. Harold watched from below, his bad knee preventing him from climbing the ladder. But he didn't feel left out. He felt complete. Ellen had started dating again. A firefighter named Marcus from the next county over. Good man, steady, the kind who showed up when he said he would. Harold approved. Life was good. Then the letter arrived. It came on a Tuesday, 6 months and 3 days after the trial. Harold was sitting on the porch watching the snow fall when the mail truck pulled up. Mr. Brennan got something for you. Harold took the envelope. His heart stuttered when he saw the return address. Montana State Correctional Facility, Blake Thornton. Harold stared at the envelope for a long time. He hadn't thought about Blake in weeks, hadn't needed to. The trial was over. The verdict was delivered. Blake was serving his time. Chapter closed, but apparently Blake didn't think so. Harold opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper covered in careful handwriting. Dear Mr. Brennan, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know you've moved on with your life. But I made a promise to you in that courtroom, and I intend to keep it. You told me to come find you when I got out. You said there was a veteran mentorship program that needed volunteers. I haven't forgotten. But I don't want to wait until I'm released. I want to start now. There's a program here at the prison. It pairs inmates with veterans who need support. Letter writing, phone calls, simple stuff. But I've been told it makes a difference. I signed up 3 months ago. They assigned me to a veteran named Robert Chen, Korean War, 87 years old. No family left, no one to talk to. I've been writing to him every week, calling him every Sunday, listening to his stories, his fears, his regrets. Brennan, I think I finally understand what you were trying to teach me. It's not about grand gestures. It's not about making speeches or crying in courtrooms. It's about showing up day after day, even when no one's watching, even when it's hard. Robert passed away last week in his sleep. Peaceful, they said. His last words to me were, "Thank you for seeing me." That's all he wanted, to be seen, to be heard, to matter to someone. I'm writing to tell you that I'm not the same person who attacked you in that parking lot. I'm not even the same person who knelt in that courtroom. I'm someone new, someone still forming, someone who doesn't know who he'll become, but knows who he doesn't want to be. And it's because of you. You didn't have to visit me in jail. You didn't have to look me in the eye and ask why. You didn't have to offer me a chance at redemption. But you did, and it saved my life. Thank you, Mr. Brennan, for everything. Blake Thornton, P.S. Please tell Tommy I'm keeping my promise every single day. Harold read the letter 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. Ellen found him still sitting on the porch an hour later. Snow had accumulated on his shoulders. His coffee had gone cold. Dad, you're going to freeze out here. What's wrong? Harold handed her the letter. She read it in silence. Her face cycled through emotions, anger, confusion, skepticism, and finally something that looked almost like respect. Is this real? She asked. I think so. How do you know he's not just playing you? I don't, but I choose to believe it. Ellen sat down beside him. You're going to write back, aren't you? Yeah. And when he gets out, I'll keep my promise too. Ellen was quiet for a long moment. You know, Dad, sometimes I don't understand you at all. This man nearly killed you. He traumatized your grandson. And you're helping him. I'm not helping him, Ellen. I'm giving him a chance to help himself. There's a difference. Is there? Harold looked at his daughter. When I came back from Korea, I was broken, angry, violent. I did things I'm not proud of, hurt people who didn't deserve it. If someone hadn't given me a second chance, I would have ended up dead or in prison. Who gave you that chance? Your mother. Ellen's eyes widened. She saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. She believed I could be better, and because she believed it, I started to believe it too. Harold's voice cracked. Blake Thornton is a monster, but monsters can become men. I've seen it. I've lived it. And if there's even a chance that my belief in him can help him change, no, you have to try. Yeah, I have to try. Ellen reached over and squeezed his hand. You're a good man, Dad. Better than most. I'm just trying to be the man your mother thought I was. They sat together in the snow watching the world turn white. Harold wrote back that same night. He kept it simple. No grand statements. No emotional declarations. Just facts. Blake, I got your letter. I'm proud of what you're doing. Keep going. Harold Brennan. He mailed it the next morning. 2 weeks later, another letter arrived. Then another. Then another. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, Blake wrote. He told Harold about the prison program, about the veterans he was helping, about the books he was reading, about the man he was becoming. Harold wrote back every time. Short letters, simple letters, but consistent, showing up, day after day, even when no one was watching, just like he told Blake. Spring came early that year. The snow melted, the trees budded. Tommy started 2nd grade and immediately declared it way harder than 1st grade, but also way cooler because we get to learn about dinosaurs. Harold's knee got a little better with the warmer weather. He could walk without the cane on good days. The doctors called it a miracle. Harold called it stubbornness. In April, Ironclad called with news. We're doing our annual charity ride next month. Veteran services, raising money for programs that help guys coming home. Sounds good. We want you to be our guest of honor. Harold nearly dropped the phone. What? You heard me, guest of honor. You and Tommy, front of the line. Everyone rides behind you. Ironclad, I don't even have a motorcycle. You'll ride with me. Tommy can ride with Ghost. Kid's been begging for it since the treehouse. I don't know. Harold, Ironclad's voice softened. You changed things. You changed us. You showed us what it means to forgive, to believe in second chances, to fight for justice without becoming the bad guys. I didn't do anything. Bull, you did everything, and we want to honor that. Harold was silent for a long moment. Let me talk to Ellen. Take your time, but Harold, say yes, this matters. Harold hung up. He sat in his chair staring at the phone. Guest of honor, him. A 74-year-old veteran with a bad knee and a grandson who called bikers angles. The world was strange. Ellen's reaction surprised him. Dad, you have to do this. I don't have to do anything. You absolutely do. Tommy will never forgive you if you say no. And honestly, neither will I. Why does it matter so much? Ellen sat down across from him. Because for the first time in years, you have something to live for. Friends, purpose, a community that respects you. Don't throw that away because you're scared. I'm not scared. Yes, you are. You're scared of being important, of mattering, of letting people get close. Harold flinched. How long have you known that? Since I was 12. Ellen's voice was gentle. Mom told me. She said the war broke something inside you, made you think you didn't deserve happiness. She was right. No, Dad, she wasn't, and you know it. Harold closed his eyes. Margaret's face swam before him. Young, smiling, full of the light he'd fallen in love with. You deserve to be happy, Harry. You deserve to live. He'd never believed her. But maybe it was time to start. Okay, he said. Okay, what? Okay, I'll do it. The charity ride, guest of honor, all of it. Ellen's face split into a grin. I'll call Tommy. He's going to lose his mind. She was right. 20 minutes later, Harold's phone rang. Tommy's voice exploded through the speaker. Grandpa, you said yes, you're going to ride motorcycles with the Angles. This is the best day of my entire life. Harold held the phone away from his ear. Calm down, soldier. It's just a ride. It's not just a ride. It's the coolest thing ever. Can I wear my leather vest? Ghost made me a leather vest. It has patches. You can wear whatever you want. Can I bring my binoculars for the lookout tower? Tommy, there's no lookout tower on a motorcycle. I'll build one. Harold laughed. For the first time in months, he laughed until his ribs hurt. I love you, Grandpa, Tommy said suddenly. His voice had gone quiet, serious. I love you too, soldier. You're going to be so cool on that motorcycle. All the other grandpas are going to be so jealous. Harold smiled. I'll try my best. The weeks leading up to the charity ride were chaos. Ironclad and his brothers came by almost every day. They measured Harold for gear, fitted him for a helmet, taught him how to hold on without falling off. Tommy helped by running around making motorcycle noises and crashing into furniture. Ellen started dating Marcus seriously. He proposed in early May. She said yes. Life was moving, changing, growing. Harold had almost forgotten what that felt like. 3 days before the ride, Harold got a phone call he wasn't expecting. Mr. Brennan, this is Warden Phillips from Montana State Correctional. Harold's heart stopped. What happened? Is Blake okay? He's fine. Better than fine, actually. That's why I'm calling. I don't understand. Mr. Brennan Blake Thornton has been a model prisoner. 0 infractions. Positive influence on other inmates. His work with the Veteran Outreach Program has been exceptional. Okay. We're recommending him for early release. Good behavior. He'll be out in 2 weeks instead of 2 years. Harold sat down heavily. 2 weeks. Yes, sir, and here's the thing. Blake asked if he could attend your charity ride as a way of publicly showing his commitment to change. Harold's mind raced. Blake Thornton, at the charity ride, in front of hundreds of people, in front of Tommy. I need to think about this. Of course. But Mr. Brennan, I've been doing this job for 30 years. I've seen a lot of inmates claim they've changed. Most of them were lying. And Blake Thornton is the real deal. Whatever you did for that young man, it worked. The line went dead. Harold sat in silence. 2 weeks. Blake would be free in 2 weeks. Was the world ready for that? Was he? Harold called Ironclad. I need your advice. About what? Blake Thornton's getting out early. He wants to come to the charity ride. Silence. What do you think? Ironclad finally asked. I don't know. That's why I'm calling you. What does your gut tell you? Harold thought about it, really thought about it. My gut tells me to give him a chance, but my gut's been wrong before. Has it been wrong about him? Harold remembered the jail visit, the courtroom, the letters. No, not yet. Then trust it. And if I'm wrong, if he hurts someone, if he hurts Tommy, then we deal with it. Ironclad's voice was hard. Together. Harold nodded even though Ironclad couldn't see him. Okay, tell the warden yes. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. That's called faith, Harold. Is that what this feeling is? Feels more like indigestion. Ironclad laughed. Get some rest. Big day's coming. The morning of the charity ride was perfect. Clear skies, warm sun, the kind of day Montana saved for special occasions. Harold woke up at 5 a.m. His knee was aching, but he ignored it. He showered, dressed, put on the leather jacket Ghost had given him. It fit perfectly. Ellen drove him to the staging area. Tommy bounced in the back seat wearing his custom leather vest patches gleaming. Grandpa, how many motorcycles do you think there'll be? Ironclad said about 200. 200. Tommy's eyes went dinner plate wide. That's like a million. That's not how math works, buddy. It's how cool math works. They arrived at 7 a.m. The parking lot was already full. Motorcycles everywhere. Leather vests, chrome gleaming, engines rumbling, and in the center of it all, a small stage had been set up. A banner hung overhead. Honor rides for those who served. Harold's throat tightened. Ironclad found him immediately. You ready for this, Marine? Not even close. Good, that means you're human. Ironclad clapped him on the shoulder. Come on, there's someone who wants to see you. Harold followed Ironclad through the crowd. People parted for them, nodded respectfully. Some saluted. Harold returned every salute. Old habits. They stopped at the edge of the parking lot. A young man stood there alone. Clean-shaven, short hair, simple clothes. Blake Thornton. He looked different, thinner, older, but his eyes were clear, calm, present. Mr. Brennan, Blake's voice was steady. Thank you for letting me come. Harold studied him. You look good. I feel good, for the first time in my life. The warden says you've been helping people. Trying to? It's the least I can do. It's not the least, it's the beginning. Blake nodded. I know, I have a long way to go. We all do. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Tommy's voice cut through the air. Grandpa, where did you... He stopped. Blake turned. Tommy froze. For a long moment, the 6-year-old and the 26-year-old just stared at each other. Harold held his breath. Then Tommy walked forward, slowly, deliberately. He stopped in front of Blake. You're the bad man. Blake flinched. I was. Yes. You hurt my grandpa. I did, and I'm sorry. I'll be sorry for the rest of my life. Tommy studied him with those two old eyes. Are you still bad? I'm trying not to be. Trying isn't the same as being. No, it's not, but it's all I have right now. Tommy was quiet for a long moment. Then he stuck out his hand. I'm Tommy. I'm 7 now. I have a tree house and a leather vest, and my grandpa is the coolest person in the whole world. Blake stared at the small hand, his eyes filled with tears. He took it, shook it gently. Nice to meet you, Tommy. I'm Blake. I'm trying to be better. That's good. My grandpa says trying is the first step. Your grandpa's a smart man. The smartest. Tommy looked up at Harold. Grandpa, is it okay if Blake rides with us? Harold's heart cracked open. This boy, this incredible, impossible, beautiful boy. Yeah, soldier. It's okay. Tommy grinning. Cool. Come on, Blake, I'll show you my patches. He grabbed Blake's hand and pulled him toward the motorcycles. Blake looked back at Harold, overwhelmed. Harold nodded. Go. Blake went. The ride began at 10 a.m., 212 motorcycles, the largest charity ride in Montana history. Harold rode with Ironclad. Tommy rode with Ghost. Blake rode with a veteran named Hank, who'd lost both legs in Afghanistan. They rolled through Pinewood Valley like thunder. People lined the streets, waved flags, held signs. Thank you for your service. Welcome home. Heroes honor rides forever. Tommy waved at everyone. His grin was so wide it threatened to split his face. Harold held on tight and let the wind wash over him. This was living. This was purpose. This was home. They stopped at the rally point at noon, a park at the edge of town, food vendors, music, hundreds of people. Ironclad helped Harold down from the bike. How do you feel? Like I'm 20 years younger? Good, because you've got a speech to give. Harold's stomach dropped. A what? Speech, guest of honor. Remember? I thought that was just ceremonial. Nope, 3 minutes. Whatever you want to say. Ironclad grinned. Better start thinking. Harold's mind went blank. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to sum up everything that had happened, everything he'd learned, everything he felt. Impossible. But then Tommy appeared at his side. "Grandpa, you okay? I have to give a speech." "Cool about what?" "I have no idea." Tommy thought about it. "Just tell them what you tell me." "What do I tell you?" "That being brave isn't about fighting. It's about doing the right thing even when you're scared. And that hate is poison. And that everyone deserves a second chance." Harold stared at his grandson. "When did you get so smart?" "I learned from you." Harold's eyes burned. "Okay, I think I know what to say." The crowd gathered in front of the stage. 200 bikers, dozens of veterans, hundreds of community members, and in the front row, Ellen, Marcus, Tommy, and Blake. Harold climbed the stairs slowly. His niece screamed, but he didn't show it. He took the microphone. The crowd fell silent. Harold looked out at the faces. Some he knew, most he didn't, but they were all here, all listening, all waiting. He cleared his throat. "6 months ago, I got beaten in a parking lot." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. 4 young men decided that an old veteran with a bad knee was worth hurting. They kicked me while I was down. They laughed while my grandson watched. They drove away thinking they'd gotten away with it. Harold paused. They were wrong. Cheers erupted. Harold raised his hand. "But not because of me. I didn't do anything special. I just survived. The real heroes are the men who came to my house that night. The men who stood guard when no one else would. The men who believed that justice was worth fighting for." He pointed at Ironclad. "These men, these brothers, these angels." The crowd roared. "But here's the thing they taught me. The thing I didn't understand until all this happened." Harold's voice caught. "Being strong isn't about fighting. It's about standing up. Being brave isn't about not feeling fear. It's about doing the right thing even when you're terrified. And being honorable isn't about never making mistakes. It's about owning them, learning from them, becoming better." He looked at Blake. "6 months ago, a young man did something unforgivable to me. He hurt me in front of my grandson. He showed the worst of human nature." Blake's head dropped. But then something happened. That young man faced what he'd done. He took responsibility. He started helping others. He started changing. Harold's voice broke. "I don't know if redemption is real. I don't know if people can truly change. But I believe in the possibility. Because if we don't believe people can become better, what's the point of any of this?" He raised his fist. "To the veterans who served, to the brothers who rode, to the families who believed, and to everyone who ever got knocked down and got back up again." His voice rose. "This is for you." The crowd exploded. 200 engines roared to life. Horns blared. People cheered. Flags waved. And in the center of it all, Harold Brennan, 74 years old, bad knee broken, but healing, raised his hand in salute. Tommy rushed the stage and threw his arms around Harold's waist. "That was amazing, Grandpa. You're like a superhero." "I'm not a superhero, buddy. I'm just an old man who got lucky." "No," Tommy's voice was fierce. "You're a hero. My hero. Forever." Harold held his grandson tight. The sun was warm, the crowd was cheering, and somewhere in the back, Blake Thornton was crying. Not from shame this time, from hope. After the rally, Harold found Blake sitting alone on a bench. "You okay?" Blake wiped his eyes. "I don't deserve any of this." "Probably not." Harold sat down beside him. "But here's the thing about second chances. You don't deserve them. You earn them, day by day, choice by choice." "How do I do that?" "You keep going, you keep helping, you keep trying to be the man you want to become instead of the man you were." Blake nodded. "Mr. Brennan, that mentorship program you mentioned, is the offer still open?" "Yeah, it is." "When can I start?" Harold smiled. "How about Monday?" Blake extended his hand. Harold took it. And in that moment, 2 former enemies became something else. Not friends, not yet, but allies. Partners in the long, hard work of becoming better. The sun began to set over the mountains. The crowd thinned. The engines quieted. The day wound down. Harold sat in his chair watching the sky turn orange and pink. Tommy was asleep in Ellen's arms, exhausted from the best day of his life. Ironclad appeared at Harold's side. "Hell of a day." "Yeah, you did good up there." The speech. Tommy wrote it. Ironclad laughed. Kid's got talent. He's got more than that. He's got heart. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Ironclad spoke again. So what now? Harold thought about it. Now we go home. We rest. We wake up tomorrow and do it all again. That's it. That's everything. That's what life is. Showing up, day after day, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Ironclad nodded. You're a wise man, Harold Brennan. I'm a tired man, but I'm learning. Ironclad stood up. See you around, Marine. See you around, brother. Ironclad walked away. Harold watched him go. Then he looked up at the sky. Margaret, he thought, I wish you could see this. I wish you could see who I've become. The stars were starting to appear, and Harold could have sworn just for a moment that one of them winked at him. 3 years passed, 3 years of seasons changing, 3 years of wounds healing, 3 years of a family growing stronger. Tommy was 10 now, tall for his age, still wore the leather vest Ironclad had made him, though it barely fit anymore. He'd started calling himself Junior Angel, and no one had the heart to correct him. Harold turned 77 in the spring. His knees still ached on cold days. His hands still trembled when he was tired. But his eyes were clear, his heart was full, and every morning he woke up grateful. Ellen married Marcus in a small ceremony by the lake. Tommy was the ring bearer, Ironclad was the best man. Nobody asked questions, life had found a rhythm. But some rhythms get interrupted. It started with a phone call. Harold was in his workshop, sanding a piece of oak for a new birdhouse when his cell phone buzzed. He didn't recognize the number. Hello, Mr. Brennan. This is Sarah Chen, the prosecutor from Blake Thornton's trial. Harold's hand stilled. I remember you. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Actually, something's very right. I'm calling because Blake Thornton has been nominated for the Governor's Award for Community Service. Harold nearly dropped the phone. He's been what? The Governor's Award. It's given to individuals who demonstrate exceptional commitment to serving others. Blake's work with the Veteran Mentorship Program has been extraordinary. Harold sat down heavily. I didn't know. He didn't want you to know. He said he wanted to earn it, not have it handed to him because of your connection. That sounds like him. Mr. Brennan, the ceremony is next month. The governor specifically requested that you present the award. Harold's throat tightened. Me. You changed his life. Everyone knows that. It would mean everything to Blake and to the veterans he's helped if you were the one to honor him. Harold was silent for a long moment. 3 years ago, Blake Thornton had beaten him nearly to death, had traumatized his grandson, had represented everything wrong with the world. Now he was being honored by the governor. Mr. Brennan, are you still there? Yeah, I'm here. Harold took a deep breath. Tell the governor I'll do it. Thank you. I'll send the details. The line went dead. Harold stared at the phone. Then he started to laugh. Life was strange. Beautiful and strange. That evening, Harold called a family meeting. Ellen and Marcus came over with Tommy. Ironclad came too, along with Ghost and 2 other angels who had become regulars at the Brennan household. They gathered in the living room. Tommy sat on the floor playing with a model motorcycle Ironclad had given him for his birthday. So what's this about, Dad? Ellen asked. You look serious. Blake Thornton is getting the Governor's Award for Community Service. Silence. Then Ellen burst out laughing. You're kidding. I'm not. They want me to present it to him. Ellen's laughter died. Are you going to? I already said yes. Dad? Ellen, I know what you're thinking, but this is a good thing. It proves that people can change. That redemption is real. Or it proves that a rich kid can charm his way back into society's good graces. You think Blake is charming anyone? Harold shook his head. You haven't seen him work. I have. He spends 60 hours a week at the Veterans Center. He visits hospitals. He writes letters to families who lost loved ones. He does it all without cameras, without recognition, without expecting anything in return. Ellen crossed her arms. I want to believe you, Dad. I really do. But every time I look at Tommy, I remember what that man did, what he took from us. I know. Harold's voice softened. But holding on to that anger, it doesn't hurt Blake. It hurts you. It hurts Tommy. It hurts all of us. Tommy looked up from his motorcycle. Are you talking about Blake? Everyone froze. Harold nodded slowly. Yeah, buddy, we are. Is he in trouble? No, the opposite. He's getting an award for helping people. Tommy's face scrunched up in thought. Like a medal? Sort of. Cool. Tommy went back to his motorcycle. He's been working really hard. He deserves it. Ellen stared at her son. Tommy, how do you know he's been working hard? Tommy looked up again, casual, matter of fact. Because I talked to him. The room went silent. Ellen's face went white. You what? We write letters, and sometimes he calls. Grandpa said it was okay. Ellen turned to Harold. Her eyes were blazing. You let Blake Thornton communicate with my son, Ellen, without telling me. I was going to buy... When were you going to tell me that the man who nearly killed you has been talking to my 7-year-old? He's 10 now, Mom, Tommy said helpfully. That's not the point. Harold raised his hands. Ellen, listen to me. Tommy asked to write to Blake. After the charity ride, he said he wanted to make sure Blake was keeping his promise. And you just let him mush? I read every letter. I listened to every call. There was never anything inappropriate. Blake talks to Tommy about school, about the treehouse, about dinosaurs. He asks about his life. He encourages him to be kind. Ellen's jaw worked. You should have told me. You're right, I should have. I'm sorry. Ellen paced the room. Marcus reached for her hand, but she pulled away. I can't believe this. I can't believe you went behind my back. I didn't go behind your back. I made a judgment call. Maybe it was wrong, but Ellen... Harold's voice cracked. Tommy needed to do this. He needed to see that the monster from his nightmares was just a man. A broken man who was trying to put himself back together. That wasn't your decision to make. No, it was Tommy's. Ellen spun toward her son. Tommy, did you ask Grandpa if you could write to Blake? Tommy nodded. Why? The boy was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was older than his years. Because I was still scared, Mom. Every night I saw his face. Every time I heard a loud truck, I thought he was coming back. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Ellen's anger cracked. Pain flooded through. Oh, baby. But then Grandpa said something. He said the only way to stop being scared of monsters is to find out they're just people. So I asked if I could write to Blake to see if he was still a monster. And Tommy looked at his mother with those two wise eyes. He's not, Mom. He's just sad and sorry and trying really, really hard to be good. Ellen's eyes filled with tears. Tommy, I'm not scared anymore because Blake isn't a monster. He's just a person who made a really bad choice, and now he's making better ones. Ellen knelt down in front of her son. When did you get so wise? And Grandpa taught me. Ellen looked at Harold. The anger was gone. In its place was something else. Something like respect. I'm still mad at you, she said quietly. I know, but I understand why you did it. Do you? Ellen nodded. You were trying to protect him, the same way you've always protected all of us. Harold's throat was too tight to speak. Ellen stood up and walked over to him. She hugged him, tight, long. I'm sorry, I yelled. You had every right. Maybe. But you had every right to make the choice you made. You're his grandfather. You know him better than anyone. Harold held his daughter close. I love you, Ellen. I love you too, Dad. Even when you drive me crazy. Ironclad cleared his throat. So, about this award ceremony. We riding, Harold laughed. Yeah, brother, we're riding. The ceremony was held at the state capitol. Marble floors, high ceilings, portraits of governors and heroes lining the walls. Harold felt out of place in his borrowed suit. Tommy fidgeted beside him in a too-tight collar. Ellen and Marcus sat in the second row, still uncertain but present. And in the front row, 43 Hells Angels sat in full leather patches gleaming under the chandeliers. The governor's staff had tried to protest. Ironclad had simply smiled and said, We're guests of the honoree. They didn't argue further. The ceremony proceeded through several awards. Teachers, firefighters, community organizers. Each one received polite applause. Then the governor stepped to the podium. Our final award tonight goes to a young man whose story is unlike any other. 3 years ago, Blake Thornton was convicted of assaulting an elderly veteran in front of his grandson. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He served 3. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. In that time, Blake Thornton could have become bitter, angry, hardened. Instead, he chose a different path. He joined a veteran outreach program. He dedicated himself to serving those who had served our country. And since his release, he has logged over 4,000 hours of volunteer work, more than any individual in the history of our Veteran Services Program. The governor paused. Blake Thornton's story is not one of privilege or luck. It's a story of transformation, of redemption, of the human capacity to change. He looked toward the wings of the stage. And there's no one better to tell that story than the man who made it possible. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Harold Brennan. Applause erupted. Harold stood. His knees screamed. His heart pounded. Tommy grabbed his hand. "You got this, Grandpa." Harold squeezed back a "Thanks, soldier." He walked to the podium. The applause faded. Silence fell. Hundreds of faces stared up at him. Harold gripped the edges of the podium. "3 years ago," he began, "I was beaten nearly to death in a parking lot." No one moved. 4 young men decided that an old veteran with a bad knee was worth hurting. They laughed while they did it. They filmed it like entertainment. And my 6-year-old grandson watched the whole thing. His voice cracked. "I thought I was going to die that day. Not from the beating, and I've survived worse, but from the hopelessness. From the realization that the world was broken in ways I couldn't fix." He paused. Then something happened. A group of men showed up at my house. Bikers, Hell's Angels. Men who society told me to fear. Men who the world had written off as outlaws and troublemakers. He looked at Ironclad. Those men taught me something I'd forgotten. That brotherhood isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about showing up when it matters. It's about standing for something bigger than yourself. Ironclad nodded once. And then something else happened. Something I never expected. Harold took a deep breath. The man who attacked me, Blake Thornton, reached out. Not with excuses, not with justifications, but with genuine, heartfelt remorse. He looked toward the wings where Blake waited. I could have ignored him. I could have let him rot in prison and told myself he deserved it. Part of me wanted to. Part of me still does, if I'm honest. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. But my grandson, that same 6-year-old who watched me get beaten, he asked me a question. He said, "Grandpa, if bad people can't become good, what's the point of trying them?" Harold's eyes stung. I didn't have an answer, so I decided to find one. I visited Blake in prison. I looked him in the eye. I asked him why he did what he did. And for the first time in his life, Blake Thornton had to face what he really was. Harold's voice hardened. Not special, not powerful, not above the rules. Just a broken, scared, angry young man who had hurt people to feel big. A man who had never been told no. A man who had never faced consequences. He softened, but also a man who was capable of change. A man who was willing to do the hard work of becoming better. A man who didn't just talk about redemption, he lived it. Harold picked up the award from the podium. This award isn't mine to give. It belongs to every veteran Blake has helped, every family he's comforted, every life he's touched in the past 3 years. But I have the honor of presenting it. So, he turned toward the wings. "Blake Thornton, get out here." Blake walked onto the stage. He was different than he'd been 3 years ago. Thinner, humbler. His eyes were clear. His shoulders were straight, but not arrogant. He stopped in front of Harold. "Mr. Brennan?" "Blake." They stared at each other. "I don't know if I deserve this," Blake said quietly. "You don't, not yet. Maybe not ever." Harold extended the award. "But you've earned it, and there's a difference." Blake took the award. His hands were shaking. "Thank you for everything, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Don't thank me. Thank the man you're becoming." Blake nodded. Then Harold did something that shocked everyone in the room. He hugged Blake Thornton, the man who had nearly killed him, the monster from his grandson's nightmares. He wrapped his arms around him and held on. Blake froze, then his arms came up, and he hugged back. The room was silent. Then from the front row, a small voice rang out. "Yeah, go Grandpa, go Blake." Tommy, standing on his chair, pumping his fist, laughter rippled through the crowd, then applause, then cheering, and in the back of the room, 43 Hells Angels stood and raised their fists in salute. The ceremony ended, but the night was just beginning. Outside the Capitol, the Hells Angels had organized a celebration. Food trucks, music, a parking lot full of motorcycles and memories. Harold sat on a bench watching the festivities. His knee was throbbing. His heart was full. Tommy ran over cotton candy smeared across his face. Grandpa Ghost says I can sit on his motorcycle, can I please? Ask your mom. She said ask you, Harold chuckled. Then yes, but be careful. Yes. Tommy sprinted away. Blake appeared at Harold's side. Mind if I sit? Go ahead. Blake sat. They watched the party in silence. I didn't think I'd make it this far, Blake said finally. Neither did I. You know what kept me going in prison? On the hard days when I wanted to give up. What? Tommy's letters. Blake's voice cracked. A kid I traumatized, a kid who had every reason to hate me. He wrote to me every week, asked about my day, told me about his treehouse, sent me drawings. He's a special kid. He's your grandson. Of course he is. They sat in comfortable silence. Mr. Brennan. Harold. Call me Harold. Blake smiled. Harold, what do I do now? I've got this award, but I don't know what comes next. Harold thought about it. You keep going, one day at a time, one choice at a time. You help the next person, and the next, and the next, until you can't help anymore. That's it. That's everything. That's what life is. Showing up day after day, even when it's hard. Blake nodded. I can do that. I know you can. Ironclad walked over. We're about to do the final ride, honor lap around the Capitol. You and Harold. Harold pushed himself up. Wouldn't miss it. Blake stood too. Can I ride? Ironclad studied him. The same hard eyes that had once promised violence now held something else. Respect. You earned it. Hop on. The engines roared to life. 200 motorcycles, chrome gleaming, leather shining. A symphony of thunder. Harold rode with Ironclad. Tommy rode with Ghost. Blake rode with a veteran named Marcus, the same Marcus who would soon be Tommy's stepfather. They circled the Capitol 3 times. Horns honked. People cheered. Flags waved. And in the center of it all, Harold Brennan, 77 years old, bad knee, full heart, raised his fist to the sky. Margaret, he thought, I hope you can see this. I hope you're proud. The stars twinkled above, and Harold could have sworn one of them twinkled back. Later that night, after the celebration wound down, Harold found himself alone on his porch. The house was quiet. Tommy was asleep. Ellen and Marcus had gone home. Harold sat in his chair, the same chair Margaret had bought him 40 years ago, and looked up at the sky. Quite a journey, huh? He was talking to her, to Margaret, the way he did every night. Remember when you found me broken, angry, convinced I didn't deserve happiness? You saw something in me I couldn't see in myself. You believed I could be better. His voice caught. I'm trying, Maggie. Every day I'm trying to be the man you thought I was, the man you helped me become. The wind stirred the trees. I miss you every single day, but I'm not alone anymore. I've got Tommy, I've got Ellen, I've got brothers I never expected to find. He wiped his eyes. And I've got purpose. Finally, after all these years, I know why I'm still here, why I survived Korea, why I survived that parking lot. He looked at his hands, weathered, scarred, strong. I'm here to show people that change is possible, that monsters can become men, that it's never too late to become who you were meant to be. He smiled. You taught me that, Maggie. You taught me everything. The door opened behind him. Grandpa, Tommy stood there in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. Hey, soldier, what are you doing up? I heard you talking. Who were you talking to? Harold patted the chair beside him. Come here. Tommy climbed up and snuggled against Harold's side. I was talking to your great-grandma, to Margaret. But she's in heaven. Yeah, she is. Can she hear you? Harold thought about it. I like to think so. I like to think she's watching, making sure I don't screw up too badly. Tommy giggled. Grandpa, you never screw up. I screw up all the time, buddy. The trick is getting back up, trying again, learning from your mistakes. Tommy was quiet for a moment. Grandpa, yeah, when I grow up, I want to be exactly like you. Harold's heart cracked open. No soldier, you'll be better, much better. How do you know? Because you're starting from a better place. You're starting with love, with family, with people who believe in you. You started with those things too. I did, but I forgot them for a while. You won't forget. I'll make sure of it. Tommy yawned. Grandpa? Yeah. Tell me the story again. Which story? About the day the angels came. Harold smiled. I've told you that story 100 times. I know, but I like hearing it. Harold pulled his grandson close. Well, it started on a day when I thought the world had forgotten what kindness looked like. He told the story. All of it. The parking lot, the attack, the bikers who showed up when no one else would, the trial, the forgiveness, the transformation. By the end, Tommy was asleep. Harold carried him inside, tucked him into bed, kissed his forehead. Good night, soldier. I love you. He turned off the light, but before he left, he looked at the wall above Tommy's bed. There in a simple frame hung a photograph. Harold, Tommy, Ellen, Marcus, ironclad, Ghost, 43 bikers, and Blake Thornton, all of them grinning at the camera. Below the photo, mounted in a frame, was Tommy's original crayon, drawing the one that had survived 3 years and 100 adventures. Thank you, Angles, and beside it a plaque that Ironclad had commissioned. Simple words etched in brass honor doesn't retire. Brotherhood never ends. Stand for those who can't stand for themselves. Harold touched the plaque. We did good, Maggie, he whispered. We did good. He walked back to the porch. The night was quiet. The stars were bright. And somewhere in the distance, Harold heard it. The low rumble of an engine. He looked up. At the end of the street, a single motorcycle sat in the darkness. Its rider raised a hand in salute. Harold raised his hand back. The rider nodded once. Then the engine roared and the motorcycle disappeared into the night. Ironclad, still watching, still protecting, still keeping his promise. Harold sat back in his chair. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in 77 years, Harold Brennan felt completely at peace. Not because his journey was over, but because he finally understood what it had all been for. The pain, the loss, the struggles, the triumphs, all of it had led him here, to this moment, to this family, to this truth. We are not defined by our worst moments. We are defined by what we do after them, by how we rise, by how we help others rise. Harold opened his eyes. The sky was lightening in the east. A new day was coming. He smiled. Okay, world, he said quietly. Let's see what you've got. He stood up, stretched his bad knee, grabbed his cane, and walked inside to make breakfast for his grandson. Because that's what heroes do. They show up, day after day, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when no one's watching. They show up, and they never ever stop. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, no matter how dark things get, redemption is always possible. Brotherhood never ends. And courage has no age. Thank you for watching. Thank you for believing. And until next time, stand strong, stand together, and never stop fighting for what's right. Because in the end, that's all any of us can do. Show up and never give up.